Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my personal belief that your XRP is here to stay. Despite all the calls of doomsday scenario for the broader crypto asset class as crypto prices have plummeted in 2022, well, that's all a bunch of bunk. It's all a bunch of nonsense. There is real utility to be had in crypto. Couldn't be more obvious that it's not going away. Even if you don't 100% buy into this idea of people liking the attributes that are not available and don't exist without cryptocurrencies, how about the idea that businesses exist that cannot exist, which are valuable? These business models exist that could not exist without decentralized cryptocurrencies that have open market price. How about that? And I do buy into this idea of the actual attributes, the immutable traits, and all that stuff. I do believe that's valuable. I found it compelling when I jumped into crypto in 2017, and now, over half a decade later, I'm more convinced that that does make sense. But as far as XRP specifically, despite what's going on in the SEC v. Ripple case, it's here to stay. And in fact, I want to share with you some perspective from attorney John Deaton on this. It's actually not something on the legal front. It's just actually having to do with how he thinks that things are unfolding and why things are happening the way that they are. So, I mean, technically you could say like a little bit from like a regulatory front. It touches on that, a little bit to do with Gary Gensler, but it's more like, why are the things happening that are happening? And if you understand the bigger picture, in my opinion, because I actually do agree with what attorney Deaton is saying here, it makes sense. If you think about this, think about all of the firms that have been pushing, for example, for a Bitcoin ETF. How many have applied? How many have been denied year after year after year after year? Well, I still think that one's going to get approved. You know who it's going to be? I'll tell you in just a second who I think it's going to be. But before going further, I do want to be clear that I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And so there's this thread from attorney John Deaton, and he shared this tweet from crypto media outlet Blockworks that wrote, BNY Mellon, which has $43 trillion in assets under custody, ignoring crypto would be like sticking with paper and not adopting a computer. And so you listening to this, you are on the cutting edge. There are only about 3% of humans that have ever bought a cryptocurrency at any point in time. You are substantially ahead of almost every single human on the adoption curve of this technology, which frankly is why we have this incredible opportunity that we have to achieve life-changing wealth at a rate that has never been seen before at any point in time during the history of our species. This is unprecedented, what we are living through right now. And so again, that's from BNY Mellon, $43 trillion in assets under custody. They're basically mocking people for those who aren't paying attention or don't know. And so John Deaton says, are you paying attention? Larry Fink, who is in charge of BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the entire world with $10 trillion in assets under management, was on with Liz Clayman and Charles Gasparino and said, quote, the technology and the opportunities are real. I believe the purpose of crypto will play a big role in the modern world, end quote. And so this is a huge part of the reason that I think it couldn't be more obvious unless something dramatically shifts. XRP is here to stay. It's already been around a decade, and the whole time adoption has increased, and it's now increasing at a faster pace. Forget price over the last year. I'm talking about in terms of adoption based on actual utility. That's increasing at an impressive clip. So it's going to be here for people to speculate on, and people are going to recognize that. And I think money just follows where actual value is, and that couldn't be more obvious. And all a cryptocurrency needs, I believe, is one use case to be successfully adopted for it to have long-term viability. And XRP has multiple use cases. So to me, it looks like the writing, unless something comes out of left field and I acknowledge something really unforeseen could happen, then we'll all be very sad. But that's nothing. It doesn't remotely look like that right now. So to me, it looks like the writing's on the wall pretty much at this point. XRP is going to be worth an absolute fortune in the future. XRP is here to stay. I firmly believe that. And we'll see if I'm wrong, but I could not be more fervent in that belief. And so what's actually going on in terms of adoption? Because look, it's gonna speed up dramatically. Just you watch. So check out what Attorney Deaton had to say. Again, he was talking about Larry Fink, who's in charge of BlackRock, and BlackRock being again the largest asset manager on the planet, $10 trillion roughly in assets under management. Well, Attorney Deaton continues and says, Larry Fink said what many of us have been saying since 2017/2018. We need smart, sensible regulations for crypto to rocket. If BlackRock is in, ask yourself, who is the largest shareholder of BlackRock? Vanguard. It's Vanguard. Who manages 90% of Gary Gensler's $140 million fortune? Vanguard. Who's Gary Gensler's? I'm sorry, excuse me, folks. Who's Gary Gensler met 7 to 9 times since becoming chairman? Vanguard. The point is that crypto is here to stay. BlackRock, Fidelity, Mellon, etc. are not all wrong. Charles Payne and I talked about this months ago. Gensler is crushing crypto until the incumbents get a bigger slice. Yeah, so I'll pause to note, this is something that I was actually talking about last summer, some of you may recall, as there was news breaking about the new ways in which BlackRock was jumping into crypto. And one of the more notable ways, beyond just partnering up with Coinbase, one of the more notable ways was that they are copying Grayscale, which basically pioneered a product. It was the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC. I'm sure many of you have heard of that at this point, and well aware. And it's an investment vehicle for accredited investors, so you can get exposure to the crypto asset class without having to worry about custodying crypto, Bitcoin yourself specifically. They pioneered this product, and the whole goal for Grayscale has been to get approval to turn the Bitcoin Trust into a Bitcoin ETF, which would be a huge freaking deal because, again, as successful as Grayscale's been to this point anyway, they can only service accredited investors. And almost no humans in the United States are accredited investors because you have to have a net worth of at least $1 million, not including your primary place of residence, or you have to have earned $200,000 a year for the last 2 years and be on pace for the third year. For the current year. So almost nobody, suffice to say, but if you get approval from the SEC to have a Bitcoin ETF, well, this would be an investment vehicle that functionally would be similar to the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, but it could be traded on public stock exchanges like the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. And people who are not accredited investors, regular people, can just go on with their existing accounts, be like, oh, this is a new thing I can purchase, and then you buy that. It's an exchange traded fund for everyone. The amount of and by the way, backed by real Bitcoin, so it impacts supply and demand. That would be absolutely incredible. So look, that's going to come, but Grayscale was denied that this past summer, and then immediately sued the SEC. And I say, good on them. Bring the fight to them. But what was happening at the same time? Well, BlackRock was jumping in. And so my suspicion has been all along that BlackRock is, because they're basically copying Grayscale's investment vehicle, what they're going to do is ultimately seek a Bitcoin ETF. And with them having the connections they have, I'll not be surprised if they are the first to get approved for that Bitcoin ETF. And it's fine. If you don't like BlackRock, that's fine. I don't care. I'm not here to pitch on their behalf. But I am saying, given how monstrous they are, the money's going to flow in. They know that they're positioning themselves to absolutely reap some serious benefits. But we were here before them, weren't we? Yes. Pretty much all of us were here before BlackRock. And we are positioned. And as money comes pouring in, it's going to flow into XRP and everything else. And markets are going to absolutely boom. And so, yes, it's, the way the game is played. Yeah, it's shady and the favoritism, this and that, getting saved from the regulators, and BlackRock looks like they're probably going to be, which is the kind of the point that Deaton's getting at here. So even so, and we can hate all of that as much as we want and cry about it till we're blue in the face. But the good news is we're here, so we're going to benefit either way. Whoever gets the first Bitcoin ETF, whether it's Grayscale or BlackRock or pick your firm, we're here anyway. It's going to be fantastic. And if it's BlackRock that gets it, I mean, you understand their customer base. Biggest firm of its type on the planet. And then Attorney Deaton says, he will continue his, referencing Gensler, of course, he will continue his regulation by enforcement policy, not providing clarity and guidance, and later, once the legacy players are satisfied, there will be some form of clarity worked out, and then crypto will be labeled safe enough and investors protected. Exactly. And so look, I don't actually think, I mean, not that I have zero worries, but I don't actually think that it's remotely likely, not even remotely likely, that you're going to have XRP outlawed to the point that it cannot be bought or sold in the United States ever. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but my gosh, I think there's going to be a path forward. I don't think all altcoins are going to get outlawed either. I worry about it. I'm more worried about that than market forces of, the short-term prices of crypto going up or down or up, down, whatever. I don't care about that because I'm a long-term guy. I'm more worried about government agencies ruining my opportunity, but I'm with Deaton on this. I don't think they're actually going to because there's too much money to be made. It's more like favoritism right here. Attacking the initial firms that were pioneering product. In this case, Grayscale is talking about here because they don't have necessarily the same connections, but then BlackRock comes in like, yes, we'd like to copy that business model entirely. What do you think's going to happen? So anyway, I mean, could be wrong about that, and maybe it's some other firm that gets approved. But I'm just saying, with who's in charge right now and how big BlackRock is, would you be surprised if they're the first? I sure as hell wouldn't. So we'll see what the timeline looks like for that. But also, the fact that they were jumping in when they did, as markets were down, it's not surprising that BlackRock, as Bitcoin was hitting $70,000, I mean, of course, they were planning to get into crypto still, but are you surprised that they weren't talking about it at that time? May through November 2021? Are you surprised they weren't talking about it? I'm not. That's when firms that weren't in crypto were like, yeah, we need our plan to get into crypto. And then they just didn't want to do all that stuff when you're at the top of a market cycle. So none of this is surprising at all. But all that to say, your XRP that you hold is here to stay. That's my personal opinion. It's not going away, and I believe it's going to be worth a fortune. It could not be more obvious because, again, real world utility. Humans are not going to throw away the real world utility, and it just keeps increasing. More and more use cases consistently. What a time to be alive, folks. There's lots of reason to be hopeful and optimistic, so I hope you're feeling good. Plus, today has been completely ridiculous in terms of price action. Bitcoin, cracking 21,000, XRP back up over 40 cents. And look, Bitcoin's going to hit a new all-time high at some point in the future. I don't pretend to know when. And XRP is going to hit a new all-time high at some point in the future. I don't know when. And all of this range-bound action in between, I've been in the space over half a decade. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't control the timing. My mindset was the same when I jumped in as it is today. I don't control it. Either XRP is going to zero and I'm completely wrong, or it's going to hit a new all-time high and enter price discovery and be worth a freaking fortune, because I don't think there's an in-between when it comes to crypto. Can you imagine that we have a mature asset class for crypto 20, 30 years from now, and then XRP is just still like, 40 cents? No, that is not happening. It is absolutely not happening. Because there's going to be something that's going to take the enormous amount of money that's coming in. The money's going to get thrown at it. And either XRP is going to be part of that, or it's not for some reason that I just can't see in 2023. So there really isn't going to be an in-between. It's binary. It's yay or nay. That's how I look at it anyway. And I really do firmly believe that. Because it's so early, there's so little money in XRP. It's so exciting because since there's so little money, when the money does come in, the multiplier effect is incredible. So I'll continue to wait patiently. And I'm glad I'm going on the ride with you guys because it makes it a whole lot less lonely. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Family Sedan.